Hey everyone, welcome to the week 3 Roto Wire start sit stream. I'll give you the why so you can make your best lineup decisions. Going till 15 minutes until game time. So we try to answer every question, but depending how many are here, we get through as many as possible. I will go speed round the last half hour or so because if you're with me, you'll have heard most of the analysis on the players you're dealing with, and we'll cover those players early in the show. So a lot of these players, you're gonna have Cam Akers questions, you're gonna have Juwan Jennings questions. These will be addressed in other questions. So the longer you hang with me, the more you hear it. When I go later, there'll be less question analysis. I've already given it. Wait for your question to be answered. There are a lot of questions in the queue. I get to them as quickly as I can, but you could be 100 questions back. And so please don't spam out question multiple times. I'll see it. I'll find it. Front of the line, anybody who uses the super chat function and pays, I automatically see some star come up at some point on my screen. When I see that, I click it. So if you're urgent, as soon as I see it, I will click that on just so you know. All right, let's get some questions here. All right, so let's see. We've got Steven starting out the show here. 0-2 start. Hope you get a win today. Cooper, Zamir White, Gabe Davis, and a flex spot PPR. You know, Cooper's seen targets. It's been like 8 and 9 targets. It hasn't worked. They do get Jedrick Wills back today. Dewan Jones on the other side. I think their tackle play is going to be a little better than it's been. The Giants do not present a difficult matchup at all. Not really worried. Their pass rush is inconsistent. Burns is less than 100%. I like Cooper here. Zamir White does have a good matchup in theory. The run blocking of the Raiders has been a disaster. And so they're going to need to have a lead. And I don't know how much of a lead they have, but White has not been very good. Gabe Davis gets sporadic targets, but I would trust Cooper a lot more. Give Cooper the edge here. Ravens or Bills defense, it's always a coin flip there, right? I do give the Bills the edge, though. Trevor Lawrence tends to throw some stupid interceptions on occasion when he shouldn't. So I definitely would give the consideration to the Bills there, and the Bills are playing at home, so that certainly helps. Ravens, yeah, they're not what they were. Their pass defense isn't what it was. Pass rush is inconsistent. So yeah, I'd go with the Bills. All right, J Red, morning to you as well. Need a running back and flex for PPR. Henry, Connor, Godwin, Charbonnet. Oh man, Henry doesn't have a bad matchup. Dallas has been awful against the run. They switched their defensive scheme with Mike Zimmer. It hasn't panned out. They've gotten just run all over. And last week the Ravens used Patrick Ricard more to block, and so at least they give a little more commitment than the week one. Henry got going in the second half. I do think there's a good chance he scores in this game. I would trust him. Charbonnet volume's been there, right? But the yards per carry has been awful in the first 2 games, and even last year when he started, it was awful. You're hoping that he gets it done that way, but Realistically, Miami's been very, very good against the run. Charbonnet's a volume play. I get it, but I'd give Henry the edge, and you need. So I would say Charbonnet. Godwin's been Superman. He's been weaponized in the slot, uncoverable, wide open all day. James Conner has a really, really, really tough matchup, but they use him as a receiver. They're multiple in their run formations. They don't use the same run over and over. Conner's been a star. I would be more inclined. You could make a case for going Charbonnet over Conner. I'd go with the better player in this case. So I would sit Charbonnet. Jay Ferguson, Gesicki, or Goddard. Ferguson's healthy. The Ravens aren't what they were last year defensively, losing Mike McDonald, the defensive coordinator, now the coach of Seattle. That was a big hit to them. I'd give Ferguson the edge. Gesicki had the great game last week, but week to week, that's tough. Goddard's been just merely a floor play. Ferguson wasn't great in week one, but he is the seam stretcher there. I would give Ferguson the edge. It's close. If you have a gut feel, definitely go with it. Ethan, half point PPR. You need a running back, 2 flex. You got Dowdle, Irving, McConkey, Odunze, Myers, Tyler Johnson. So I'd give Odunze a whirl for one of the flexes because the Bears face an easy pass defense. Colts have literally no pass rush. DeForest Buckner, their defensive tackles, out. This is the week if the Bears want to get their quarterback some confidence. This is the week they would do that. So I would give Odunze a whirl here. Boy, the other ones, the running back's tough. I don't think Dowdle's going to have much room to run against Baltimore, and he's not much of a factor as a goal line or a receiver. So Bucky Irving gets some touches. I think Bucky Irving has a chance to do a little bit something here. Obviously, you're really hurting here. I would give Irving like a 60-40 shot over Dowdle. And then for your last flex, I would like Tyler Johnson if they had another star on the field, but right now the line's a mess. And now he's thrust into a more prominent role where the defense can actually play him normally. McConkey's probably your floor play here. whether Herbert plays or not, he probably gets a few catches. Yeah, you're in a real tough spot here. Myers is kind of tough to roll with him because Bowers is the number two. Myers might have a tick more upside than McConkey for scoring, but McConkey probably has a better floor. So yeah, I would probably go that route. Leave Dowdle out of it. Shakir, Kirk, Quentin Johnson, Zamir White. You need one. Shakir's been getting it done. Jacksonville doesn't scare me in the slot. I do think Shakir is a thing in that offense. Johnston, I don't like the Joey Porter matchup when he sees him. The quarterback's limited. Zamir White's your best floor play here, though. He's your best floor play because as bad as the run blocking's been, they're playing Carolina, who can't stop anything. So your floor play is Zamir White. And you know what? And that said, I mean, Shakir has a similar floor. White is a better chance of scoring a touchdown. Your boom bust play, if you need to shoot for it, Kirk would have a shot this week because Teron Johnson, the slot corner for Buffalo's out. And I have to think they're going to make a commitment to get him the ball. He's your boom bust guy. Man, so OG Bobby put up a super chat question. We'll get you right now. 0-2 ransacked by injury. I'm sorry about that. It's a tough start. You have Christian Watson starting. Could you drop Watson for Jawan Jennings and try to pick him back up on waivers? Oh, you're in a real rough spot, Bobby, because, Watson this week's unstartable, right? Because Willis threw 14 passes last week. That was it. Definitely not testing anything downfield because he can't. Jawan Jennings, in theory, could do something, and he may. But everybody's overlooking Chris Conley. See, Jawan Jennings is like this fabulous blocker, and he does so many things for them. He's just a great, well-rounded player. They don't always have to use him as a receiver. Now, I know they don't have much else, right? They're going to try to run on the Rams, and Jennings is a big part of that. Conley's just more of a receiver who could see more targets. Jennings could have a game. He could have a game, but he also could go 2 for 17 and call it a day. Now, Watson may not get that. I think he goose egged last week. It's squarely in the equation. You'll have to pay up to get Watson back next week, most likely with Jordan Love coming back because he'll be a hotter commodity. But Jennings will get you something. And so if you just need something for points, then I guess you got to go to Jawan Jennings in that case. So that's how I would look at it. But remember, it might not be easy to get Christian Watson back next week. All right, let's get back to the stream. All right. We have got, all right, Jeff. Jeff, you want Henry or Pollard? So this week in my rankings, I have Henry as a running back 8 because I mentioned earlier when we talk about Dallas, the run defense under Zimmer in theory should have been good. It's not. They're a mess. They have a couple stars and they have a lot of like not so good players. Pollard, I have him as a top 15 option, but I have to think last week in the second half, we saw him get Henry going. So I'm going to give Henry the edge here. I do have him ranked significantly ahead of Pollard. Pollard's having a great start to the year. Another super chat question here. Sideshow Mill came in. Let's see what we got here. All right, you have got need 2 for full PPR. You got Aaron Jones, Rashad White, Zach Moss, and Cam Akers. Yeah, good question here. Aaron Jones, he's being used as a receiver as well, so that's definitely a possibility that's going to work out for you well. So I think that even if he doesn't get it going on the ground, he gets it going there. He's in a bit of a timeshare, but he had 6 targets last week, 5 for 36 for the year, so we love that. So I think Aaron Jones got to be a staple in your lineup. Rashad White, we saw it last week when he doesn't get the passing. It could be real ugly for him. Now, most weeks he gets it. They're playing Denver. I don't know how much they need to use him as a receiver. So there's that. Now, Denver does some pass rush, but Baron Browning's out. So that really cuts their pass rush. Zach Moss, they're playing Washington. I think they're going to use the game to get their passing back on track. And the one place Washington is good is at defensive tackle. You got Daron Payne and you got, I don't know why it evades me. No, Jonathan Allen. And that's the one place they're strong, and that's where Moss likes to run. So might not be the best matchup. And then Cam Akers, again, Ogunbowale probably sees 30 to 40% of the snaps here. Akers, we've seen him carry a fantasy team for weeks. Then we've seen him just completely soil the bed. He's Cam Akers. We don't know what we're getting. So I would just, I would just say Rashad White you drafted him high. He's shown he can put up points. He can find the end zone. I'd be more willing to trust White ahead of Akers. Could Akers fall in the end zone twice? Yes, he could. But he also could be outsnapped by Ogunbowale and be, not much of a factor here. So, yeah, I just go with those two and call it a day. Go with your best 2 in that. And I got another super chat question here. Let's go here. MCF 1988. PPR wide receivers. You got Wilson, I'm thinking Garrett Wilson, but if I'm missing that, retype something in and under they haven't like I'm gonna say I'm gonna assume he already played. But you got Garrett Wilson, I imagine. Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison, Godwin, JSN. Oh, for his trade, all right. Offered Smith and Jigba and Neighbors for Chase. He countered with Godwin and Neighbors for Chase. Oh man. You know what? Think about this though. Chase, as great as he is, and I love him this week, he's going to go off this week. But we've seen the two high shells really keep Chase from being a explosion player. He kills the NFC when he plays them, but against AFC teams, he just doesn't have those monster games. So I think you got to stay with Godwin because Godwin's weaponizing this offense. They got him in it's a Ram style offense, and they're weaponizing him like Cooper Kupp, Puka Nakua. He's open all day long. And Neighbors, he's going to have ups and downs. Like when they face a tough pass rush, he's going to have those down games, but they're going to power feed him targets. I think it's too much. I think you got to stay where you're at. Another super chat. Chuba Hubbard or Stephon Diggs? Yeah, it's a good question. Hubbard is sharing a little more than we'd like. We have Andy Dalton and a quarterback here that raises the offense. The Raiders have not been a good run defense. This game could be close, and if it's close, Hubbard probably gets more run. Diggs has been used as a short area of the field slot guy. When they get in the red zone, they definitely will use him there. I think with all the looks, the confusing looks that Brian Flores of the Vikings wants to use, I think getting the ball out quickly could be useful for CJ Stroud. That said, Hubbard has a more stable floor for sure. But I think Diggs has a better chance of getting in the end zone because they do like to use him when they get down in the red area. And with no Joe Mixon there, they might be more inclined to go to Diggs than to Akers. So it's a real tough color. Hubbard's has a real safe floor. So if you just want the floor, that's it. But I do think Diggs could have a little bit of upside here and maybe has a little extra oomph playing against Minnesota, who you know he hates for the way they treated him there. But that may be long gone in terms of motivation for that. But I do think Diggs has the higher upside. So if that's what you're looking for, I would kind of go that route. He could get in the end zone more likely. All right, let's get back to the mainstream here. Thank you for those super chat questions. And let's see where I got to find where the light turns off where I click these questions. So I got to find my way back through. And all right, Jeff, you need one. Ridley, Brian Thomas, or Jennings. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for a nice comment. Brian Thomas, it doesn't have the best matchup against Buffalo. Their outside corners are very good. They're missing their slot corner in this game. Ridley, like the touchdowns last week. I don't know how I'm stunned that he got past Sauce Gardner. It's just one of those things. I don't know how that happened, but it was great for Ridley. You got to love it if you have him. And so Ridley, this week you're playing Green Bay. It's not an impressive matchup. And Jair Alexander is very good, but it's not like he's going to be chasing him around the field. I don't see that happening. Jawan Jennings, you heard me talk about him earlier. I mean, he's a very good player. I think he may block more than he receives. He could have a game, but I think he could just as much be a more of a blocker, and we can see Chris Conley getting it. So I think I think I would rule him out these better choices. Based on Ridley's the way Ridley's played, I'm going to give Ridley the edge over Thomas, who's also had a nice start, but Thomas's matchup is exponentially tougher. I think I'm going to give Ridley the edge here. Brian, half PPR, Demarcus Robinson or Christian Kirk. So Demarcus Robinson is great when he has another receiver around him, I think. But now, like, he's going to be seen as like the guy. I think that's problematic. The interior line's a mess, and the 49ers are probably pressuring Matthew Stafford a lot here. So I'm worried about that. I'm going to give Kirk the edge. The slot corner from Buffalo's out, so I think they got to get it. And Brian, thank you for reminding people to hit the like button and subscribe also. RotoWire Fantasy Football YouTube. Appreciate everybody being here, by the way. All right, let's see what we got here. We got Kevin next. Good morning to you as well. You need two from the following in a PPR. You got Higgins, Mooney, DJ Moore, Demarcus Robinson, Christian Kirk, David Montgomery, Pollard, and Robinson. You need just two. So DJ Moore has to get a lot of targets this week. I would be stunned if he didn't. And they're playing the Colts. Best corner is Kenny Moore. He's like 5'9", and their other corner, Juju Brents, is out. They have no pass rush. They're DeForest Buckner, defensive tackles out. DJ Moore is a get right week for him. And I think your best floor play outside of that is David Montgomery. There should be a lot of points in theory. I know they haven't been finding the end zone, but there should be a lot of points in the Arizona game. And Arizona is not really going to give him much hassle. I think with the players you have, you can give Higgins a week. Pollard's always a contention. I just think you go DJ Moore and you go Montgomery here. I think Brian Robinson has a nice matchup, but I think those two are pretty much good floor plays that have ceiling potential as well. I got another super chat question here, and then I got to come back to Mike after that. All right. Scott's in the house. Good to see you, Scott. You need a flex and a PPR. You got Brian Robinson or Devin Singletary or Demarcus Robinson. So Brian Robinson has as good of a matchup as he's going to have all year. Cincinnati is horrible against the run. You know, in the offseason, they lost DJ Reader, who was their best run stopper. Their interior line actually has injuries with players at least limited, if not even able to play. So I think if you're going to have a week for Brian Robinson, this is the week. I mean, as long as they can stay in the ball game, but he catches passes too for them because they don't throw to their wide receivers. So I do think Brian Robbins is your best player. Singletary, they probably fall behind in this one, and they're going to need the running back to probably protect Daniel Jones a little bit more in this game. Demarcus Robinson, you heard me say earlier, right? With him like being the guy, now he might see real coverage, and he can't just be like hidden and snuck around because there's no Cup and Nakua to kind of shelter him. So I love Robinson until that point. It's just hard to see it working. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Brian Robinson there, Scott. Good luck with that. All right, gotta find where Mike's at on here now. All right, Mike got you. Morning, Mike. PPR, Brock Purdy or Derek Carr. So the 49ers are probably going to try to run the ball a lot here. They're going to probably try to control the game on the ground. They're going to try to, pound the Rams into submission, and they should have success doing that. I don't think Purdy has to throw a lot here. A lot of injuries. Ayuk's going to get his, but I think that Derek Carr, you got to ride him into the week. Philly, this is a perfect matchup. They're using play action, they're using rollouts, and they're using screens. And most of the time, Carr is open. They passed to Shaheed. He was actually had guy coming right down on him, and he still pulled the trigger, which that's good for Derek Carr. He usually doesn't do that. But this matchup, Philly does not have a good pass rush. The middle of the field is a real problem, and this is exactly where New Orleans is attacking. So your probability, and he's Derek Carr. That's always the thing. He's Derek Carr, and when you least expect it, then Derek Carr turns into a pumpkin, and that can happen. But I'm giving Carr the edge here because I think he is, even though it's not a lot of pass attempts, this offense is weaponized right now, whereas Purdy may not need to do much in this game. All right. Eric, half PPR. Terry McLaurin. You know what? Because Andy Dalton's in town, I'm going to give Deontay Johnson the edge. He has a professional quarterback now. Deontay Johnson gets open. He gets open quickly, and he'd shake coverage too. So I'm going to give him the edge. Is Terry McLaurin? Look, what was it, 6 for 22 last week or something like that? It's not an adult passing game in Washington. They have zero downfield element, and that's where McLaurin crushes. Will he get it done this week? A long shot, possible, but until you see it, I don't think you could trust him right now. So yeah, I think with a healthier quarterback, and then you got Ford or Brian Robinson. You heard me talk about Brian Robinson earlier. Ford's a fine play, but he split a lot. Foreman had like 14 carries last week, so I think you got to go Brian Robinson in a great matchup. And then William, you got Pittman or McConkey. You know what? Justin Herbert, he's going to try to gut it out and go. I don't know if he can't move. He's a high ankle sprain. And then if they got to go to Easton Stick, that's a disaster. Taylor Heineke, this is bad. You got to go with Pittman here. I know I see Jalen Johnson, but Pittman's had, top of my head, 8 and 9 targets. I'm a little off on it, but it's close. He's seen a lot of targets. You just got to go with the volume there. Mike Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams, I have like very high. If you see my rankings on the screen, I'm a wide receiver 17. Right now, you can't sit Jameson Williams unless you have like a dynamite option. Until Williams isn't getting it done, he's got like 20 targets in 2 games. You can't sit that, I don't think. Vinny, more than you as well. Let's get it. Yeah, I love it. Connor, Charbonnet, or Montgomery. Montgomery has the best floor of this group because Arizona's not a very good run defense. Connor, it's a tougher matchup for him. I'm very anxious to watch this game because the different run looks that Arizona gives, they're playing the best run defense in the league, and it's going to be fun to see it. But that makes Connor's range of outcomes broader than normal. Charbonnet, like I said, he's getting the volume for sure. But again, whenever he subs in for Walker, he always gets these nasty matchups. And Miami right now is a nasty matchup. And I know James Cook got it done against him. I get it. Miami's a very good run defense. So I'm going to say Monty has the floor. Monty's most likely to score a touchdown. I'm going to go that route. And then you got the remaining 2 or London. So of the rest, Connor and Charbonnet both have high floors because they are going to be heavily involved. And Connor's the better player between Charbonnet, obviously by a long shot. So I would tend to say Connor's your floor play. London, we saw at least him get started last week. And I think London theoretically could get the big plays going this week, but we said we got to see it. They're playing Kansas City. It's a very, very tough draw. So I would take the floor with Connor. If you want to go boom bust for that one, then it makes sense to give London the shot. All right, Unite Santini. Morning to you as well. Pittman, Higgins, or McLaurin. Pittman is your floor play. He's like I said earlier, he's getting the volume. He's getting a lot there. He hasn't done anything with it, but and he won't be on Jalen Johnson full time today. He'll get some time off him. And I think when he's on Tyreek Stevenson, he has a bit of an edge there. Higgins, it's one of those things we got to see him play, right? It's a beautiful matchup, and they could get him going hot. So Higgins is your boom bust play. And if you want to shoot for the, I don't think Pittman has a roof game, but I think Pittman could get you 12 PPR points, which that's a solid play, right? But I think Higgins is your boom bust play, so that you got to look at him that way. McLaurin, like I said, until we see something from him more than short passes, I think right now when you have other options, you got to bench him. Delroy, Goff, or Richardson. Goff, it's been tough with him because they're moving the ball, but they're not getting it in the end zone. Now, in theory, that should change against Arizona this week. Goff had 300 yards and 2 picks last week. So he had 1 touchdown in the opener against the Rams. Basically, those are 2 soft matchups. It's really hard though to sit Goff. Richardson, he completed 26 passes this year in 2 games. That's not a lot. And the running, maybe it's not quite what we were hoping for, but in terms of the rushing attempts, he only had 4 last week. He had 6 in the opener. That's bothering me because I was expecting to see double-digit carries, and we haven't seen that yet. So based on where we're at today, Goff is your starter. But again, if you want that boom bust element, Richardson could get going against the Bears, but the amount of pass attempts or completions, I should say, and the rushing attempts are low. So I think Goff's ahead of him, but Richardson always has that ceiling because if he just gets going as a runner, could he score 2 rushing touchdowns? Yeah, he definitely could. So Richardson's your boom bust play, but Goff is way safer. Delroy, half PPR start 3. Amon-Ra, DJ Moore, London Flowers, JSN, and Wandale. Amon-Ra's an automatic, so you go with him. I said earlier, DJ Moore, it's a super matchup. This should be the one game so far where Caleb Williams doesn't have pressure on him. And the secondary is awful. They play 88% zone, very easy defined looks. So I'm going to give DJ Moore the role here. For your third one, between Zay Flowers, right now Drake London, we haven't had obviously a big game yet, but we know Zay Flowers and Smith and Jigba are going to see targets. And against Dallas, I kind of think Zay Flowers has the higher floor. JSN's playing Miami. It might be a little more difficult. Cater Kohu in the slot, not the best matchup. I'd probably give Flowers the edge here, but then the third, it'd be JSN. Because I think, that was your fourth. So you got St. Brown, DJ Moore, and Flowers. I would go with them. And if you want boom bust over Zay Flowers as a floor play, then you can go ahead and roll with London in that case. Martin, you want to go between Odunze and Shakir. Shakir is like a PPR guy, and there's always value in that. But with Odunze, he's a little healthier this week, and he should, in theory, like I said, the Colts, they don't get a pass rush. Their corners are terrible. This should be a Caleb Williams breakout start. You have your first good game of the career. So Odunze's your upside play. He's the boom bust guy because, again, he might not do much because they can run on them too. You want a safe play at Shakir. 5 for 54 last week, 3 for 42 and a touchdown in the opener. So he's a great floor play. So Shakir to play it safe. If you really need to swing for the fence, then take a shot on Odunze. But I would probably go with Shakir, the safe play there. Irving, Chase Brown, or Madison. Yeah, that's a tough one. And Chase Brown's not getting nearly the work he should get. And the Buffalo matchup's not ideal. Bucky Irving is getting some work, but again, it's like not always the valuable touches. So he had 7 for 22 last week, 9 for 62 in the opener, but he got a lot of that work late, garbage time. Madison last week was scary. He scored a touchdown. I am more inclined to go with Chase Brown here because if Cincinnati gets the big lead I expect them to have, I think that they may let him get some time late in that game. Gut call, of course, but I'd go Chase Brown. Bills, Raiders, or Texans to stream. I probably would tend to go with the Raiders. Pass rush would be a big deal, and Andy Dalton could, give you the holiday gift. So I would tend to go that way. Volmaniac, appreciate the kind words. Thank you. What do we got here? We've got PPR flex, Singletary or Wandale. Singletary has a better floor, of course, because he's going to get probably 10 to 12 carries in this one. So there's that. He might not do a lot against Cleveland. I do think Wandale and PPR is a good play though, because I've been on this 2 weeks in a row. First week I said it'd be a Wandale game because when the pressure would come, Jones would freak out and get the ball to the slot instead of to Neighbors, and that happened 12 targets. And then last week I said there won't be pressure on Jones, so it'll be Neighbors. This week it's back to playing Cleveland and a lot of pressure. So my guess is Wandale is back in as a high volume PPR guy. So I'm going to give Wandale the edge here. Singletary is always safe, but I'm going to give Wandale the edge here. Tight end, Pitts, Fryermuth, Gesicki. Yeah, it's a tough one. Pitts has done enough of a floor to give him a shot again here. I don't know what the upside is. They're playing Kansas City. It's not the best matchup. Gesicki had the one good game. In the opener, he dropped a touchdown. They do get Higgins back, so maybe some of the targets get eaten up. And Fryermuth just not getting enough work. I love him, but they're just not getting enough work. Any of these guys could hit. I think the safest play would be Pitts. I think your boom bust play though would be Fryermuth, because I could see them deciding to get him going against Chargers. Aloe Gilman is less than 100% their free safety, and they could choose. It's just how much are they going to throw it, right? That's always the problem. So, but I would tend to lead Pitts, and then Dortch is available. I do see it as a Dortch game. Because Detroit will bring pressure with Aiden Hutchinson, and so when there's pressure, the slot's very valuable. So there is that, and you're not then benching DJ Moore, but Dortch is less than 100%. So probably based on that, I'll probably bounce out of that and just say what we're saying with the tight end. Pitts would be your play. Fryer with your boom bust. Got another super chat. Then I'll come back to Mark M. All right, let's see. Oh, I might have two. I'm sorry. All right, Jeff, gotcha. They didn't show up till now on my sheet here. All right. So you've got PPR, Neighbors, Evans, Pickens, or McLaurin. Pick one. So like I said, the pressure from Cleveland, that's always going to be a problem for Daniel Jones. So I'm worried about Neighbors this week. And he'll probably see quite a deal of Denzel Ward, not the best matchup. Evans doesn't have the best matchup in the world either. He'll see a lot of Patrick Surtain, not that he can't beat it. Pickens had a couple plays called back, big plays called back last week, complete penalties. It was a couple of big opportunity plays. And so against the Chargers, I do think he gets going here. McLaurin's tough. I believe it or not, I'm going to call Pickens your boom bust. Pickens is your boom bust because he could have a game, but the passing attack is concerning. The floor play is Evans. Despite the matchup, he's still 6'5", 230. And Surtain's not 6'5", 230. And Evans could beat corners. It's not like Surtain's the biggest physical corner. So I think that Evans can do okay. Evans is your safe play, and Pickens is your boom bust. And I would give you that because you got to decide for your lineup. If you got to decide the risk management part of that, whether you want the volatility or you want to go with the safer play. And then Joseph, we got you for Diggs, Ridley, Rice, Pierce, or Dobbins, 2 receivers and a flex. You got to go with Rashee Rice for sure. His volume has been high. Hollywood Brown out for the season. It's going to be a big volume year for him. So you got to roll with him as well. I do like Ridley in here as well because Ridley is a big part of the passing. I think that their quarterback's a fraud, but they're getting the ball to Ridley. And DeAndre Hopkins still is not close to 100%, it seems. So I think you've got to go with him as well. He is their number one receiver. And against Green Bay, the matchup does not scare me. The matchup was way worse last week. And then you need a flex for your third one. So and it looks like you got Alec Pierce here, and that's going to be boom bust. He got to get that big player. He doesn't really do much. And then Diggs, I think Dobbins has the best floor of them. Now he's getting 9.9 yards per carry. That's going to come crashing down at some point very, very fast. Pittsburgh is a tougher matchup, but the run blocking has been good for the Chargers, and they're committed to it. Dobbins and Diggs is very, very, very close. I do think Dobbins has more bankable volume, so I would go with him as the flex. If you have a gut feel on Diggs, go with it because he is a red zone priority there for them. All right, let's get back to the stream. I think I got Mike M, if I remember correctly. Mark M? No, I got to go down. There you go, Mark M. All right, here we go. All right, you got 14-man PPR league. You need to sit one of Mooney, Gus Edwards, Christian Kirk, Jalen Warren. Who sits this week? It's got to be Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards has been horribly inefficient. Now he's getting carries, right? We'll give him that. I'm going to look at the numbers real quick for you. 18 for 59, no targets last week. First week, 11 for 26, one catch for 2 yards. So he's getting 45% of the snaps and he's getting you 15 touches. He is doing absolutely nothing. Yet his matchups were against Carolina and Las Vegas, two cupcake matchups. And now he gets the Steelers. So Gus Edwards has to be my bench here in this one. I just struggle to see him doing anything here. Ford or Romo Dunze. Well, the fact that Foreman got 14 carries last week, they understand. It looks like whenever somebody trusts Foreman, then they don't trust him next week. Foreman had a tough matchup, but he still was like 3 yards a carry, which was fine last week. It looks like he has a real role. Odunze the matchup couldn't be better for the Bears for their offense. So I think you got to give Odunze a shot here. Does Ford have a safer floor? Yeah, I think it's not a high floor, but I think Ford is a safer floor. But I think Odunze has a decent floor. His knees a week healthier. And I think there's a real opportunity for a play or two here and for a big play. So Ford's super safe. Odunze is a little more risky, but there is potential for an upside game here. All right, Steve. PPR, need a flex out of these options. P. Ryan, Kirk, Flowers, Shakir, Mooney. One flex. You got to go with Zay Flowers. The targets are there. Dallas's defense has not been a problem, especially on the coverage. Deron Bland is injured. And Diggs is less than 100%. So, yeah, I think you got to give Zay Flowers the shot here. Other options look good, but the bankable volume for Flowers is important. Kevin, need 3 in a half PPR. Tyler Johnson, Mooney, Kirk, Higgins, or Judy, and you need 3 of them. You look, Kirk had the slot corner for Buffalo's out. They got to get him working in. He's a very good player with 2 bad games behind him. And then, so I'm going to give Higgins a shot in this group. He's back. He's healthy. They waited till he's healthy, and the matchup could not be better. They can't cover Washington. They can't rush. So there's that. And then as your third, I like Mooney had the great week, but Judy's getting a good floor. And the matchup against the Giants is not scary at all. So I would go with that. I think that's a solid trio to go with. Come on, you got to go with Kincaid here. Parkinson, like I said, the target some weeks will be there. It's like Tyler Higbee days, right? Higbee would have a good game or two, and then they would just go away from him. He's not a priority in the offense. And now with no Kupp and Nakua gone, the defense could just play it straight up. Whereas Parkinson, the opportunity just to run wide open because teams had to worry about Kupp and Nakua. Well, without that, now it's just an offense. I know McVay's a genius, but you can't make it out of spare parts. So, yeah, you got to go with Kincaid. Kincaid's an elite tight end. He has elite numbers, but he's getting enough targets. Steve, Parkinson or Ferguson? Same reason with Parkinson. You got to go with Fergie. He's healthy. Apparently, last week he was close. If he's ready to roll, you got to start Ferguson. Could Parkinson have a game? Yeah, he could. But I think banking on it is way too difficult to trust. So there's that. Delroy, Freiermuth or Gesicki. Freiermuth has a higher floor, and it's not a major floor, but it's a higher floor. With Higgins back, Higgins is going to eat up some targets. And I think Gesicki has more upside for a big play. But I roll with Freiermuth here. I think Freiermuth is safer. Gesicki had the great game. I get it. But Higgins coming back means something to me. Chris, good morning to you as well. 0-2 against the best team in the league. You're the best team in the league. You're going to be going on a big winning streak here. With a superstar lineup, you need 3 receivers in a PPR. You got Devontae Smith, Waddle, Quentin Johnson, Kirk, Deontay Johnson. You need 3. Quentin Johnson has a limited quarterback, and Joey Porter probably at least half the time on his side, so we'll rule him out. And from there, you got to start Devontae Smith. I don't like that they moved him out of the slot a lot. Let's go AJ Brown up because that really could have been a monster game, but you got to play him. He's in for sure. And then Waddle got a bad quarterback. You have to think they're going to get the ball in his hands and let him run. And so you have to think Thompson can make those design throws, scheme throws. So I can't sit Waddle compared to the options. I'm going to make Christian Kirk my third one, but I'm going to caveat it with this. Kirk has real upside this week. The slot corner is out for Buffalo, but if you want a safe third play, but it sounds like you're playing a team you're worried about. So I would go with the upside that Kirk hasn't shown yet, but he should show here. But Deontay Johnson would be a real safe floor play because Andy Dalton's there, and that adult quarterback in the room would help. Unite Santini, Dell, Cooper, Worthy, half PPR. Dell has the most upside because you could see in this matchup against Minnesota, they would potentially have a real difficult time dealing with him and his speed and the way they're playing their zones. He would have a good chance to break over on something and have a big play. Cooper is the most stable player. My 8 and 9 targets, 2 games have been bad, but they get a pretty easy matchup against the Giants, and they do. Excuse me. Excuse me. They get their left tackle back, Jedrick Wills, and at least now Watson might get a little protection. Worthy's just super boomer bust. 4 touches each week or 4 targets, touches. And you saw it the first week. He got blown coverage touchdown, great. And then he had the end around where it's perfectly blocked. Last week, 4 touches, basically nothing, 2 for 17. So Dell is your boom bust play. Cooper's your very safe, very solid, strong play. I would lean to Cooper, but if you're really swinging for the moon, probably Dell then. Mark, half PPR need 1 flex out of Cooks, Higgins, Deontay Johnson, Javante. Well, you just need 1. I would. So if for the safest floor, I'd go with Deontay Johnson. I think Deontay Johnson probably gets you in the area of 6 for 60, which is a solid game. For the upside play, Higgins is back. He's very risky. If you want to take the risk, the matchup couldn't be better. No pass rush, no coverage. So there would be that. But safe would be Deontay. And Javante, like I said, it's just they're without McGlinchey now, their right tackle. Offseason, they lost their center Cushenberry. The run blocking is a disaster. It's not Javante, it's the blocking. Sleek, Singletary, Shaheed, or Higgins. Yeah, it's a good one here. Shaheed had the 2 big plays in the 2 weeks, and does he get another one? This would be a perfect matchup for it to happen in. It's hard to predict big plays, right? But in reality, could be. Higgins' first game back. Singletary is just a floor play. But I think Shaheed should have a similar floor. I mean, could Shaheed get 2 catches for 15 yards? Yeah. So I guess in theory, the safest floor is Singletary, but it's not a super high floor. Cleveland should be a rougher matchup for the Giants to handle. So I would lean towards Shaheed here, but I'll tell you this: if you got a gut feel on this one, because they all have this volatility element to them, and Higgins' first game back, I'd like to see them get him involved quickly. I think Higgins he could have a higher upside than Shaheed here, but with his first game back, is he going to be eased in? And that's the worry you have. Otherwise, it'd be Shaheed. Steve, tight end premium, tight end and a flex. Parkinson, Ertz, Cooks, Foreman, P. Ryan, Mooney, and Downs. That's a good question. All right, so you need a tight end for sure. Ertz is getting some targets, and right now I'm not really overly worried about the Cincinnati defense, and I think they're going to have to throw because I imagine Cincy gets out to a lead. Ertz 4 for 62 last week, 3 for 28 in the opener, 4 targets in each. So I think you give Ertz the role in your tight end premium, your tight end, and then your flex. Man, Cooks is just up and on. Jalen Tolbert had the game last week. Foreman should have a floor. P. Ryan should get a few catches, but again, that's gonna be a mess. I would lean a little bit to Darnell Mooney. He probably gets the lightest coverage against Kansas City. He'll probably do their best to deal with London and Pitts. Tough call here, but I'm going to go with the flex. I'm going to go with Mooney as the flex. Downs is interesting, but it's his first game back from injury. Peter, Guillotine League, flex, Whittington or Tyjae Spears. If Whittington had Cup or Nakua on the field, I'd be a lot more excited about him because he'd have that protection of the defense worrying about him. Right now, like I said, I don't know what McVay's going to be able to do here with his offense, because if you don't have those other guys and the protection's awful, so there's that. I'm going to give Tyjae Spears. He's healthy enough to play. He should be in line for about 35% of the work. I'd give him that shot. And then a quarterback, I mean, Cincinnati's a terrible defense, and Jaden Daniels should have a super high floor here. Carr, like we said earlier, the matchup couldn't be better, but he's Derek Carr. But Jaden Daniels is Jaden Daniels. If he doesn't run and have a huge game, he's not throwing for anything, but he's a fantasy starter every week. I think Daniels is actually safer than Carr because the running is going to be there. Cincinnati can't do much about that. I think Carr has real upside here again because, again, Philly can't rush, and the middle of the field is awful, and that's a lot of the place where New Orleans is attacking. So if you want your floor, your safe floor, go with Daniels. If you're willing to be a little bit risky and gamble for some upside, it would be Carr because Carr could have another big, but he is Derek Carr. And that's always what we have to worry about. We've seen this before. Derek Carr with big games, and all of a sudden, oh my God, he threw 3 picks and he threw for 120 yards. I don't see it happening here because I don't see Philly bringing that kind of pressure. Tom, not a sit good, but you try and trade Mahomes. Yes, hard to trade a quarterback in leagues, but look, Mahomes second half of last year was not a QB1. Last week, even in week one, it wasn't great. So if you could trade him, yeah, I mean, see what you can get for him. It's hard to trade quarterbacks, but if you can, put some feelers out there. Judson, Richardson, or Carr. So you just heard me talk about Carr. It's the same deal here. Richardson hasn't had enough carries. Was it 5 and 6 in the first 2 games? That's not enough. He needs like 10 to 12, and he's not getting that. Bears defense is no joke. I think Carr is, I mean, he should have a floor. He should get some rushing yards there. He's not running enough. In the passing, 26 completions in 2 games. And if those big plays aren't there, it could really be rough. I hate to say Derek Carr here, but I think Carr rates a little bit of an edge. But look, I don't think it's big enough of a difference where you sit a guy that you put at a premium draft pick in, and he's gotten enough done for fantasy. So I think that because of that, I think you'd kick yourself if you had Richardson on the bench and he runs for 100 yards and Carr does a Derek Carr. So I think I would still be inclined to go with Richardson here. Carr makes sense, but I get it. Henry, Akers or Steele? I think Akers has more bankable volume. He's going to give up time to Dario Ogunbowale for sure. Ogunbowale's a receiver. Ogunbowale played in week one when everybody was healthy. He had 16% of snaps in that game. Ogunbowale outsnapped Akers. Akers should get you 15 carries. If they get in deep in the red zone, he has a chance to score a touchdown. Carson Steele, he's done very little with his rushing attempts. I think Keontae Ingram's going to be involved. I think that you're going to have P. Ryan involved. And P. Ryan can run a little bit too. Akers has, in my mind, more likely volume. So I lean that. And then, Tom, I think you asked that already. Yeah, that's it. Shookson, Robinson Jr., Dobbins, or Rashad White. Robinson could not have a better matchup. Cincinnati cannot stop the run at all. They're the worst. Now, if they fall way behind, that could be a problem because maybe Austin Eckler gets involved more as a receiver. So that could be a possibility we got to worry about. And so all that said, it's a great floor play. Dobbins has 9.9 yards per carry. It's not going to continue. Nobody runs for 9. Even Devon Achane last year when he had 12 yards per carry in that 3-game sample, obviously, he went crashing down to earth. So Dobbins, in theory, has a bad matchup against Pittsburgh. So we got to be concerned about that. Rashad White, it's all a matter if they need him as a receiver. And they're playing Denver. They might not need him as a receiver. I think Robinson is the best floor of this group. But if you can't sit Dobbins because he's on fire and you're going to continue to say, you know what, I got to trust it, then I think you look at it. I think you look at Dobbins and you say, I'm going to ride the hot hand. Otherwise, Robinson, I think, is your strong play this week. Johnny, full PPR, you need a flex. Shakir, Robinson, Quentin Johnson. I'm going to go with Shakir. The floor's been bankable. Jacksonville's not scary to me in terms of stopping his role in the slot. Robinson, again, without the other players around him, I'm worried that he's not going to have the same level of openness. And Quentin Johnson has a limited quarterback and probably see some Joey Porter. Good morning, Mini Jordan. Full PPR, choose one. Shaheed, Akers, or McLaurin. Safest floor is Akers because he probably gets 15 carries in this game, probably. I like Shaheed here because he should get targets. And again, there's nothing scary about the Eagles. McLaurin, I've got to see him have one game where his quarterback can actually throw the ball and connect with him downfield before I trust him. Good question, C. Faulkner. Javonte Williams or Christian Kirk? Yeah. I like the fact that Javonte had like 5 catches last week, so that certainly helped. And against Tampa, he definitely could continue to catch the ball. I think Javonte Williams has a better floor than Kirk because of Kirk's start to the season. I think Kirk has real upside here, though, because, again, the slot corner for Buffalo is out. They probably trail. And I do think Kirk is the upside play. But I think if you want to go with the safe floor in PPR, Javonte Williams should catch you another 4 or so passes in this game. Scott, Goff, Daniels, or Carr? Yeah, that's a good question there. I think we might answer something close to that before. Daniels has that rushing ability. Goff hasn't been getting in the end zone, but the matchup's great. That's got to break at some point, you think. And then, of course, there's Carr. I think your other, he could go Derek Carr on us. Again, the matchup couldn't be better. Derek Carr's your boom bust play. You know, if you want to say, you know what, I the matchup's great, I'm going to keep riding the hot hand, then you go ahead and do that. Otherwise, it's between Daniel's rushing ability and Goff to get them in the end zone. I think the most stable one of those is Daniels running the ball. So I think Daniels is probably the safe play. Carr's your boom bust. Not like Daniels can't go off, but they really can't throw. And Lou Anarumo could confuse Daniels even more. So there's that. So, but Daniels can run. So he's your safe floor play. Carr's your boom bust. That's a tough one. It's a real tough one. Blue, what should you do with Tyreek Hill today? You know what? I couldn't move him outside the top 8 receivers. He's already normally number 2 for me. You have to think there's going to be schemed up touches for him. And he is so fast with the ball in his hands. If they just scheme him with a 2-yard pass, you know he could take anyone to the house and he can navigate traffic like nobody else. So you got to start Tyreek Hill unless you are like super loaded. If it's like an 8 or a 10 team league, you might. But I am a top 8 receiver. It's so hard to move him out because he's Tyreek Hill, and they could just do anything to get him the ball. I'm going to check the news to see if anything inactive wise came out that we need to know about. Let's see here. No surprise, Antoine Winfield out for Tampa Bay, which again, that Denver middle of the field, Devon Vele, 8 targets a couple weeks ago, back in the lineup this week. Javonte Williams is a receiver. Kind of helps here. Nothing. Jordan Addison, we knew was out for the Vikings. Nothing new there. Their linebacker Ivan Pace is out, which that is really good news for Cam Akers. Jordan Love is inactive as expected. They downgrade their wide receiver significantly. Jaden Reed, you hope they give him enough rushing attempts on tosses that he had like 37 yards rushing last week. So you can make a little case for Jaden Reed. They'll gadget it up for him. Josh Palmer inactive for the Chargers, which given their quarterback limited situation, probably better for everybody. Philadelphia, nothing special. CJ Gardner-Johnson is active. Roman Wilson inactive for Pittsburgh. Devon Vele is inactive for the Broncos. So that means little Jordan Humphrey could be an emergency PPR flex option. When Vele was out last week, it was little Jordan Humphrey that chipped in and had the game. So again, look to that. That's interesting because Vele was battling the rib injury, so he may be a healthy scratch. So it's possible, despite the good game in week 1, Vele may have moved behind little Jordan Humphrey, who they signed to a contract on Friday. That's an interesting move for those in deeper leagues. We knew Joe Mixon was out, no issue there. Damian Pierce, we knew was out as well. We knew Keenan Allen was out for the Bears. Bayless Jones out. Taysom Hill is expected out. David Njoku, we knew was out, so nothing there. Michael Pittman is playing. We knew he was overnight. We expect to play. Justin Herbert is going to start, but don't get so excited because he is on a high ankle and he is facing the Steelers in Pittsburgh. So there's going to be significant pass rush there. That's not a good situation for Justin Herbert. Jeff, DeMarcus Robinson, Shakira Pittman Jr. Pittman Jr. is getting more targets. Shakir's had a little more production. Robinson, without the other players around him and the offensive line crumbling, I'm not going to trust as much. Pittman has more volume. I'm going to give him the edge here. If you have a gut feel at Shakir, go with it because he's been productive. But Pittman's just getting more targets. I'm going to follow the volume there. Sharp, 16-team league, full PPR. Ford, Brian Thomas, or Sutton. Ford splitting work with Foreman now. I think Brian Thomas, I don't love the matchup at all against Buffalo. Their outside corners are playing well, but they're getting him targets. Sutton, it's just been a disaster there. So Tampa's not very good, but Bo Nix, I don't think has it in him to unlock him downfield. So I'm going to go with Brian Thomas here. Ford would be a very safe floor play. He'll get you something, whereas Brian Robinson could tank out. It would be possible, but I would be more inclined to trust Thomas. All right, David, you just said Zamir. So Zamir has a decent matchup. The run blocking's been awful. Zamir White should get you 70 yards in the perfect world this week, a chance to score. But again, the blocking's been terrible. Scott, I think you asked me in some ways this question, so we're gonna move off of that. And let me get back before I get to Uncle. Tell me so I get any more super chat. 10:33. Oh, you know what? I think let me see. Jeff, I think you might ask another question. You had a similar one first time. So I'm going to look at you again. Half PPR, Neighbors, McLaurin, Mooney. I said earlier, I'm worried about the pressure on Daniel Jones, but even in the game he got pressured week one, Neighbors still saw 7 targets. I'm giving Neighbors the edge here. He still should get enough, and he's a legit star. So I'm gonna put him the edge here. McLaurin, again, we're just not seeing it work with his quarterback. So there's that. And Mooney's real boom bust. So and I don't know how high the boom is. The boom's not high enough to justify taking him out. All right. All right, Uncle Ted, you like British books, the Brooks, the fullback. Gotcha. All right. All right. Sharp. And I think we answered that for you. Fly, Ty Chandler or Tyler Johnson. Ty Chandler's getting real work. He was at 8 and 10 carries. I would double check that for you, but it's been, yeah, it's 8 and 10 carries. It's pretty good volume. He had 3 targets in week one, and Tyler Johnson, I liked it when he had either Cup or Nakua around him. Well, Cup it never was Nakua because he subbed for Nakua when he got hurt. But yeah, I mean, without the other player, I think that offense is doomed. So I'm going to go with Ty Chandler for the floor. Delroy, Ferguson, Dortch, Foreman, Wandale, Singletary. You need one. I'm going with Ferguson here. Didn't have a great week one, but he was close last week. And Dortch is less than 100%. Foreman, it's not a bad matchup, but you never know with these coaches. Like he had the touches last week. Is he getting them this week? Wandale, I do like his spot, but I don't know how much upside there is. Singletary, they might fall behind here, and I don't know if they need him for pass protection because that rush is going to be hellacious. I would just lean with Ferguson. Swift has been awful, Delroy, but they have a matchup. I mean, no DeForest Buckner, and like Indy's horrible against the run. I got to give Swift one more shot. And I'm being a Singletary hater here. Really don't mean to be because he's a productive player. But if you're look if you're going to start Singletary over Swift, then at this if Swift can't play in this matchup, he's not playable any week. I don't think. I would give Swift the edge here. Ben, flex spot, Jacobs, Charbonnet, Olave, Flowers, or DK. You only need one of these. Well, it's between Olave and Metcalf. Olave hasn't gotten the targets because the games haven't been competitive, but he really showed last week what was going on. DK Metcalf is more likely to be in a situation where they need to score points. He might see some Jalen Ramsey, but at this point, I don't even know how big of a deal that is. It doesn't seem to be shutting people down anymore. So Jacobs is your best volume play, though, because he's going to probably get 25, 30 carries again. So Jacobs is your best floor play. I think your boom bust play is probably Metcalf. I would just go with Jacobs and call it a day. There you go, JKM. Thanks. The non-PPR need one. Shaheed, Dell, Neighbors. Neighbors is you heard me talk about Neighbors a couple minutes ago. I think Neighbors is your best floor play here. He's going to get some targets, even though I don't think it's as many as we'd like. So I think we got to look at that. And outside of that, I think otherwise Tank Dell's your boom bust play. Shaheed, we love the long touchdowns. It's just so hard to bank on those every week. So as much as we love him, I'm gonna say Neighbors volume kind of wins. And Dell, this is a good matchup for Dell. If he's gonna do it ever, it's gonna be this week. See Faulkner, I'm going with Goff. I don't like Dak against Baltimore. Baltimore's been giving it up through the passing game. I just see them game planning it better. And I know it's a new coach and it's not McDonald. I just don't see Dak having that game against Baltimore. They're at home. I just see Baltimore manhandling them. That offensive line is revamped in Dallas. I'm going to go with Goff. He hasn't gotten it done from a touchdown perspective yet, but man, this matchup couldn't be better. Smurf, Harris, Najee probably, Quentin Johnson, Whittington. I go with Najee for volume. The Chargers have played very well against the run, and I know that Fatanu's on the injured list, and they're missing Sumalo, the left guard. I know all that, but they're going to run some 2 and 3 tight end sets. Man, I know Michael Pruitt's out tight end too. That's not helping. But Johnson's got a dinged up quarterback and a potential tough corner matchup. Whittington, without those other stars in the field, I can't trust him against the 49ers. I got to go with Harris for the floor. David, you lost Kittle. You have to start Salbert. Yeah, I know. It is what it is. Salbert, did he have a little bit? I think Salbert had a couple catches last week. 2 for 26. There's no guarantee he gets anything, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. All right, family first. PPR, DK, Jameson Williams, Swift or Dobbins. That's a tough one. Jameson Williams got 20 targets 2 weeks. Like then Metcalf had like 16 targets or 14 last week. So there's that. I think Williams is in more of a shootout likelihood than DK. And with my ranks, let's see exactly where I have him because I got DK at 15, Jameson at 17. So I got him like really, really, really close. So I do have DK a tick ahead of him. But if you want to shoot for more upside, then I think the potential of the shootout between Arizona and Detroit would put him over the top. Otherwise, DK would be a little safer, I believe, here. Swift or Dobbins? You know what? I said Swift has a matchup, but Dobbins is doing it. Swift is looking awful. I think you just got to go with Dobbins while he's hot. Eric, I appreciate you, man. Need 2 full PPR. Akers, Tyler Johnson, Xavier Worthy. I'm not going to trust Tyler Johnson. Again, without Cup, without Nakua. Now, and like I said, hey, he was never with Nakua because they took over for him. But that said, I just don't know how the Rams move the ball here. Their line's beat up. There's going to be pressure. I go Akers and Worthy and call it a day. JKM, Zamir White, Zach Moss, Singletary. They all have potential for good floor games here. I know the Raiders want to get Zamir White going. Their run blocking's been atrocious, but Carolina can't stop the run at all. I think Zamir White is your best opportunity for volume. I'd give him a slight edge over the other two. Triple cross traded neighbors and likely for McBride. Who won the trade? Always a tough question. You would think it's really hard. It's hard to say. I'm not long term will decide it. I have no answer on that. It's a good question. I'm sorry. London or Connor? Connor has a higher floor. He's going to get a bunch of touches. The matchup's brutal, but he might be able to overcome it. London, a little more boom bust. He had 7 targets last week. He didn't come through till late in the game, which he did. So there's that. Connor is safer, but I think London might actually have potential for a little bit more seeing. They're playing Kansas City, though, and that could be a problem for Kirk Cousins. Let's just go Connor because if Cousins is confused all day, that'd be a real problem. Tyler, I'm going to go with Ferguson. I think that he is an integral part of the Dallas stack. He's supposedly 100% because last week he was close. So I got to go with him there. Dak loves his tight ends, and Ertz is a good floor and firing with 4 targets a week. But Ferguson could match that and get more. Master J, I'm going with Deontay Johnson. He has an adult quarterback now. He should be able to get him the ball. Kelsey, Rashad White, Tank Dell, Jaden Reed. Yeah, oh man, it's another tough one, right? Kelsey's done nothing. I think you got to give him one more week. I don't see Atlanta shutting him down. So Kelsey would be, and I can't even call Kelsey a floor play because he's done nothing. But I have to think they got to get him involved. I'd be stunned if they didn't get him involved. So Tank Dell's your upside play. Tank Dell could go off against Minnesota. So if you want to go for the ceiling play, go with Tank Dell, but he hasn't done a lot yet. I do say Kelsey is a floor player because I do think they're going to get him 4 catches, maybe 5 catches in this game. And they could get him going if they get in the red zone. That's the way I'll look at that one. All right. Harris, Quentin Johnson, Whittington. I think I answered that right. Harris, Cherie. PPR, Deontay Johnson or Christian Kirk. Johnson safer. He should get 4 to 6 catches from Andy Dalton. Kirk has a real chance. Like the Buffalo slot corner's out. So I think Kirk could get going, but he hasn't. He's done like nothing. I think he had -1 yard last week. So Johnson is safer, but I believe Kirk could have a game, which would make him the boom bust play with upside. But if you want that safe play, it's going to be Deontay Johnson. Turbo, she's our quarterback, Caleb Carr. I go Carr here. Carr, I love Caleb's matchup. Gino, I don't love his matchup quite as much. Trevor Lawrence has just been unfortunately awful. With this given group, Carr had the matchup is excellent for Carr. Pick up Naylor, yeah, and pick up Naylor, depending what you need him for. When Addison comes back, the targets to go. He had one target in week one, but it was a 21-yard touchdown, so there's that, right? But yeah, Addison probably misses. Well, he's missed this week. I don't know what next week's gonna bring for that, but we'll see. I haven't heard anything on the length of the injury for Addison, but yeah, pick up Naylor for right now. You need a Reed replacement, Warren or Lockett. Lockett had 2 targets last week. He had like 9 in the opener. Don't know. I think Warren, though, Warren's in a good spot here. And I know the Chargers have good numbers against the run so far. I think the Steelers, even with 2 linemen missing, I think their commitment to the run, and especially like getting a screen or 2 to Warren, I think Warren is the good replacement here. Lockett, like I said, a good week 1, but and I knew he drew a defensive pass interference last week, so there's that. But I tend to trust Warren. Oh, Pablo, morning to you as well. 2 out of 4. Deontay, Javante, Steele, Waddle. All right. So what do you got? You got Deontay Johnson's high floor. I'm trust Waddle enough. I think there's gonna be schemed up looks for him here. I would trust them both as floor plays, and those would be the 2 I would go with. Dak, Carr, or Purdy. I'm gonna go Carr here. Purdy, they may not have to throw a lot. You already heard me about Dak. You heard me talking about Carr. I'm gonna go with Carr here. Ride the hot hand. Robert, half PPR, need 2 receivers and a flex. You got Waddle, Jennings, Demarcus Robinson, Jameer White, and Akers. You need 2. Again, you just heard me talking about they're gonna have to scheme up some looks to Waddle. They're gonna have to do that and get his in his space with his speed. I see that happening. I think Jameer White has a very good matchup and a floor this week. So I would give him a whirl as well with that. I would go with those 2. Akers is, make a case for him. All right. Answer that already. Johnny, Singletary or Chuba Hubbard? That's close. That's close. I do think Singletary might get a a little bit of an edge here. He should get more touches than Chuba because Miles Sanders has been involved a bit. So I think Singletary does see more work. I give him like a 52-48 edge. Judy, Alec Pierce, or McLaurin. Judy has the highest floor of this group. Alec Pierce will need a long play to make it work. So he's boom bust. He's counting on those big plays. It's hard to get those every week. So I would bank the floor of Judy. If you got to swing for the fence and take trust the long play is going to happen, then you got to go for Pierce. But Pierce is not going to be a volume play. Delroy, man, I'm going to go with Foreman here. He had 14 carries this week. He's going to get that again. I don't know. But against the Giants, they could have a lead, and they could use him to grind clock. And they did get Jedrick Wills back to left tackle, so I'm going to give him the edge there. Purdy and Geno's close. Let's see exactly where I have them. Yeah, I have Geno at 14 and Purdy at 15. Is that close? Smith is more likely to need to throw than Purdy, and I'll give him the edge for that reason. I think I answered that already. Christine, Rice or Ayuk? Oh, you got a good problem on your hands. Both should be heavily involved. Ayuk could see a lot of targets because Debo's out and Kittle's out and McCaffrey's out, been out. Rice is a super high floor, though, and Atlanta's not slowing him down. I think Rice is pretty much an iron grid lock, if there's such a thing as 6 catches and maybe more. So he has a better floor, and he could have an upside game as well. So that makes him the better play. Ayuk could have a massive game here, but they might not need him a lot. And the Rams could just decide to throw a lot at him and make Jennings and Conley beat him. So there's that. So I think Rice is safety and ceiling makes him a slightly better play than Ayuk, who could go off. Ayuk could have a monster game. But Rice has both in his arsenal, I think. Carr or Daniels? Yeah, we've had this one. It's a good question. It's a very good question. Daniels has that rushing floor that makes him strong. Carr has a great matchup. If you want the super, super safe play, it's Daniels because he's going to run. There's always risk of Derek Carr because he might turn into Derek Carr. But otherwise, Carr is a better play. And Master J3, same deal. I mean, Baker Mayfield and Carr are different, but we saw the Bucks take their foot off the gas in a game they didn't have to, and they might do that if they get out ahead of Denver. They might do the same. I think Daniels is the safe floor for the running. I don't know how high Mayfield's ceiling is. Could he had that 4 touchdown game like he had against Washington? Yeah. So I think Mayfield is your upside play, but much, much safer is Daniels who'll get you like 17 to 20 probably, and it should be a good floor. Baker, again, they might not have to pass a lot, so there could be that. Got that one already. All right. Yeah, I probably just get late, but remember, if you ask your question, I'll get to you. It's gonna take time. Shooks and Moss, JSN, Dobbins. JSN had a ton of targets last week. I do think he's going to continue to be a feature part of the offense. I mean, Dobbins 9.9 yards per carry. If you have a gut feel on Dobbins, he's going to continue to keep that pace. Pittsburgh's a tough call. With Justin Herbert limited, you think Pittsburgh's going to load things up? I mean, maybe Dobbins is just that darn good. I don't know. He only had 6 yards per carry as a rookie. That was his best. Now he's 9.9. That's not keeping up. So I'm going to say Smith and Jigba here. But if your gut says Dobbins, trust it. OBJ, DeMarcus, or Rashad. I gotta say, Rashad, like I said, if Robinson had other receivers around him, he's much more attractive. But now, like teams might actually pay attention to him where they haven't. They haven't been able, they haven't had to. They can now. So I'm gonna go Rashad. G Money, half PPR and half per first down. Zamir White. I'm going Zamir White. If there's again, Pat, the run blocking's awful, but this is matchup couldn't be better, and they probably play with a lead. So I'm gonna give Zamir White the edge. DeMarcus or Jaden Reed? Oh, good question here. I mean, like you said, I've said Robinson's been a lock for 40 yards since like week 10 last year. The only game he didn't was the game week 18 last year. But I do think with Cup and Nakua both out, I think they're viewed completely differently. So Jaden Reed had 37 yards on the ground last week. So I think they scheme him up and get him involved. I'm going to give Jaden Reed the edge here. It's really hard to trust the Rams right now. I got a super chat, then I'll go back to G Money. Super chat. Let's see what we got here. You got Chris. Chris, you got half PPR, start 2, flex 1. Neighbors, London, Robinson, Thomas, Jamal Williams. I'm going with the Neighbors, London, and Brian Thomas Jr. Again, you heard me talk about Demarcus Robinson. Without Cup and Nakua, teams can actually decide to pay attention to him. That could be a real problem because he's Demarcus Robinson. And Jamal Williams, he counts on those carries when they're blowing opponents out. Don't think they blow out the Eagles today. And if they don't, there's probably not a lot of carries to be had there. So I'm going with those 3 receiving options. Good question, Chris. All right, back to G Money. I got to find where that question was at. Here we go. Okay. All right, Jacoby Myers. I'm going to go with Shakir. Shakir has a safe floor. He's been getting it done. There's nothing worrisome about the Jacksonville matchup here. And so I'm going to go, and especially if the pass rush gets rolling, they're going to have to get it out, and Shakir benefits from that. Myers is the third wheel in a passing game that might not need to throw a lot here. Might be a Zamir White game. Tyreek or Jamar Chase for the season? Knowing what we know today, it's Jamar Chase. Is Tua even coming back? And so I'm just Jamar Chase. I know Jamar Chase. I hate to say that because I love them both, but yeah, to me, it's pretty safe to say that. Lil Mac can't make season picks impossible. There you go. All right. Oh, okay. Yeah, you need a quarterback though sometimes, right? Hill doesn't always need a quarterback, but at some point you need one. All right, let's see what we got here. Chris, need one. Eckler, Akers, Swift, or Zamir White. I think the safest floor of this group is White. Again, he's been awful. The run block has been awful. Carolina could not be a better matchup. And the coach says he wants to get him. And I think they want to play defense and run the ball here. So I'm probably giving Zamir White the edge here. Swift has a great matchup. He's been awful. So you could consider Swift. Swift could get a big play or two. He just has shown us nothing. So I would say if you want to go boom bust, it'd be Swift because he could have a real game here. He just looks terrible. But that's your boom bust play. And Zamir White's your safe floor play. Flip. Philip. Start 1. Carson Steele, Foreman, or Reynolds. Reynolds is getting some targets. There's for sure, right? Carson Steele is going to probably get a few carries. It's a big committee there. I see Keontae Ingram being involved. I see P. Ryan being involved. Foreman had 14 carries last week. I think in a game they should play with a lead. I think Foreman is my favorite option here because this would be a winnable matchup for them. They get their left tackle back, Jedrick Wills, who's been out all year. Danielle, should you play Pittman or McLaurin? Pittman's going to play 8 and 9 targets, I believe, in the 2 games. McLaurin, they just can't throw the ball downfield to receivers. In 2 games, there's been no sign of that being a possibility. McLaurin's a great downfield receiver. I haven't seen any evidence that Jaden Daniels can get that going. So Pittman's going to have a floor for you, and there's something to be said for that. And again, with that level of targets, he could get going here. Patrick, all right. Higgins, Waddle, or Akers? Higgins is going to be risky because this is his first game back, and we don't really know what his conditioning level is. Waddle, I think they schemed the ball to him. I think Waddle is going to have a floor here because they've had extra time. That was a Thursday night game with the injury, so I think it gives him some time. So I have to think he's getting involved. Higgins is more boom bust, but he could have a game here. Washington can't rush and they can't cover. So if you're going with Higgins, you have real upside potential here. I do think Waddle's a pretty safe play. Akers, given the options you have, I don't think you need to go the Akers route. All right, Matthew. Brian Robinson or Dobbins? That's a good question because Robinson has an elite matchup. Dobbins has his first tough matchup, and their quarterback is very limited. Dobbins has been playing out of his mind. So if you can't sit him because of that, I can't fault you. But I think Brian Robinson has a better floor this week since he cannot stop the run. But since he gets a big lead early, Robinson could be game scripted out. So there is that. But he is catching the ball as well. I think Robinson is safer. But Dobbins is playing out of his mind. So Dobbins is your boom bust play, but there is bust potential this week. But the way he's playing, if you can't sit him, I get it because it's not like Robinson has the sky high ceiling. He's got a good floor. And I think that's where we kind of call it. So again, Robinson for safety, Dobbins for boom bust. All right, let me see where we're at question wise and how many we got. We got a big number of them. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go. You've heard me talk about most of the players at this point. So now we're looking a little rapid fire here. And I got to go to Julian, but I see there's a super chat question here first. Sure might be. Yeah, I got a super chat question here. So I'm going to get that. Eric, you want to know Swift, Steele, or Singletary? Swift has the best matchup. He's looked horrible. Swift could break a big play or two against the Colts, no DeForest Buckner. So he's your boom bust upside play. Singletary has a better floor than Steele, I believe, because he's going to get double-digit touches, and he should get a few targets as well. Singletary is your floor play. Swift is your boom bust play. I'm not trusting Steele. He hasn't looked great, and he's going to be in probably a 3-man committee here. All right, I'm going to speed round these. The only ones I want is if it's a super chat, then in which case I won't. And I am on Julian, I believe. Yep, okay. All right, and these are going to be speed rounds. We get to everybody because I'm out at 45 or 15 of the hour. All right, Hill and Jigba, McLaurin, London, pick 2. I am going Hill for sure, and Jigba for floor, London for boom bust, leaving out McLaurin. Fam first, DK. I think we answered that for you already. But, yeah, and maybe the running back we didn't. Swift, yeah, I would go Dobbins over Swift regardless. Gaming, Kyron Williams, Aaron Jones for Saquon and Malik. I would definitely do that. I would definitely do that trade. Delroy, Wandale, DeMarcus, or Naylor. I think Robinson gets a lot of targets here because of the pass rush. I'm going to go Wandale Robinson there. Next one. Hey, to you as well. PPR, Ford, Higgins, or Akers. You know what? Ford and Akers might have decent floors, but I think Higgins coming back has a floor. It's a great match. I'm going to go with Higgins here. Trey, Ford, Akers, Higgins, DeMarcus Robinson, Hubbard. Good. That's funny. You guys had similar questions back to back. I'm going with Higgins for the same reason. Hubbard might have I'm going to go with Higgins. Higgins has to have a reasonable floor here, and he has more upside than those players, I believe. I'm going with Neighbors here. Moss doesn't have enough of a ceiling, I believe. Fantasy Bro, it's a good question. I think Singletary sees a couple more targets, so I'm giving Singletary a slight edge there. Silicon Valley, good morning to you as well. Debo's out. Brian Thomas, Quentin Johnson. Brian Thomas. Quentin Johnson has a limited quarterback and a lot of Joey Porter, so not excited there. Jonathan, Aaron Jones. I'm going to go with Aaron Jones here. He gets used in the passing game as well. Moss can be splitting it up too. All right, next one, half PPR flex, Singletary or Flowers. I got to go with Flowers here. I don't see Dallas handling Flowers well, and if the pass rush comes, he'll be a hot read too. All right, next one, morning new as well. Already down 20 projected total. Adams, I'm assuming Devontae maybe. I don't know. Adams. I'm hoping you mean Devontae, but Devontae Williams, Jennings. If I'm not reading this right and you mean Devontae Adams, we're definitely going with Devontae Adams. And number 2 in this, because he's going to catch some passes, Javonte Williams. I'm going to put Juwan Jennings 3rd, DeMarcus Robinson 4th, and Tyler Johnson 5th. Jay Red, I both got him ranked super high. I got Murray at 4, though. He's playing out of his mind, and he's running for like 58 yards. I'm going to go with Murray. Aaron Jones or Zamir White. Because Jones catches more passes, I'm going to go with Jones there. It's close, but I'm going to go with Jones. Not really not that close. Jones he's still playing at a high elite level. Pedro Eckler, Najee, or Jalen Warren. I think the highest floor of this group is Najee. I think that Cincinnati could be in a big lead. So Eckler has boom bust. He has a higher upside because they could fall behind. He could catch a lot of passes, but Najee safer. David, second bootleg Grogan style. Nice. Need one flex. Chuba, JSN. Big part of that offense right now, I believe. Shaheed, Waddle, Worthy, or Reed. I'm trusting they're going to get Waddle the ball in space. So I'm going to go with Waddle here. Shaheed definitely has boom bust ability. So if you're willing to go that route, that's fine. Freiermuth, I'm going to go Ferguson. Freiermuth's just not getting enough targets. Ferguson has potential for more. You already answered that for you. John, good morning. Ridley or Dell. Ridley has a higher floor. Dell has a great matchup. If he's ever going to break out, it's going to be here, but you're risking here because the offense is not running through him in any way. So Ridley safe. Dell is your boom bust. Dell does have a higher upside than Ridley, but Ridley has the floor. Sit 1. Hill, Evans, Shaheed, ETN, White, or Charbonnet. Oh, man. Charbonnet has the least stability Shaheed has the least stability, I think, because he needs that big play to click, but he's a big part of that offense. Charbonnet's got a lot of volume. I'm gonna put it between Charbonnet and Shaheed. If you want the floor play Charbonnet. If you want the boom bust instead, go with Shaheed. The other ones you're playing. Oh yeah, Charbonnet's not a good runner. He is not a good runner, but volume is king in fantasy football. We saw it last week. He was terrible, but he cashed, right? So you're right, 100%, David. Couldn't agree with you more. Cooper, secure. I'm going to go with Cooper. 8 and 9 targets in the 2 games, and finally they get a match. They get the left tackle back. Little J money. Geno Smith or Jaden Daniels. Daniels is safer for the rushing ability. There's that. And I don't know that Smith's ceiling's high enough to make that move out. So I'm going to go with Jaden Daniels. Eric, appreciate you. Akers, Tyler Johnson, Worthy. Wow. I'm going with Worthy and Akers here. Without Kupp and Nakua, it's hard to trust any Rams receiver, I think. I think I answered that for you. Delroy, Dortch, Naylor, Waddle, Foreman. I'm going with Waddle. I trust they're going to get him the ball in space. They're going to figure it out. I believe they're going to get him the ball. I have to work on that. Asadberg, Zamir White, or Will Carson. I'm going to go with Zamir White. The matchup could not be better. I know the running game is awful right now. Do I have another super chat here before I get? Let me see here. I think I got another. Yeah, I got another super chat question here. All right, sad question. Whittington. I'm going to go with Naylor. Again, I'm very, very pessimistic on the Rams offense without their superstar receivers and their offensive line beat up. So I'm going to go with Naylor. Naylor is the clear number 2 with Addison out. And I do think that in the matchup that Minnesota has with Houston, I think that there's going to be on the opposite side of Stingley, there's going to be opportunity for some production. All right, got that. And then, all right. Wow, Cousins or Donald's a great question. I'm worried about Cousins against Kansas City. So I'm going to probably give Darnold your edge here because they're probably going to chase points. Waddle, Brian, Thomas, Keon Coleman. I got to bench Coleman. He barely saw anything last week. We were going to wish cast him into existence. So Waddle and Thomas should have bankable volume. Williams, Jacobs, Olave, Flowers, Metcalf. Pick one running back, one flex. All right. Jacobs, massive volume. Receiver. I'm giving Olave the run here. They might need to pass more than they have in the past, and he should get more volume. Chris, Charbonnet or Pollard? I'm going with Pollard here. Pollard's been great, and If he's continue to see 15 plus touches, Charbonnet's have to fall into the end zone to be able to beat him. Could happen. Dobbins or Zamir White. White should have a great floor in this game, but has a higher ceiling. The match was bad for Dobbins this week, but he's been playing great. If your gut says Dobbins, keep rolling with the hot hand. Otherwise, Zamir White seems safer. Saints D or Chargers? I'm probably saying the Chargers. I'm gonna say the Chargers, and I just don't think Philadelphia is going to turn it over a lot against the Saints. Eric, appreciate I answered you already. Brent, Caleb, or Sam. I'm gonna go Caleb. The matchup couldn't be better. He shouldn't see any pass rush this week. I'm gonna give Williams. I think they get him confidence this week. Purdy or Prescott. I got them very low in my rankings. I've got Purdy at 15, Prescott at 12, but Prescott does rate a little bit of an edge. Offered Higgins and Javante for Shaheed, and I would buy that because Shaheed's going to be up and down. He's not going to keep it up all year. I would go and get Higgins. Lawrence, Fields, Daniel Jones. Love is inactive. I would go with Justin Fields here. I think he gets enough done. Monty, I'm going to go with Monty. I have Monty top 12 running backs week. Easy matchup. Jay Robinson. I'm going to go with JSN. I'm going to go JSN for the floor ceiling combo. Pittman's close. Evans or Ridley. I know that Evans is going to see a lot of Patrick Surtain, but Evans is 6'5", 231, and Evans is a superstar. Ridley's playing well. He's playing great football. I got to go with the better player here. It's close. I got to go with Mike Evans. And Mike Evans, look, if your gut says Ridley, go with it because the matchup could be a problem, but he's Mike Evans, and I don't get scared off too much unless it's Marshawn Lattimore, who's a great cornerback against physical receivers. Andrew. Baker Richardson has a higher floor, and I would probably lean on that because I don't know how high Baker's ceiling is. Could Baker have the 4 touchdown game again? Yeah, he could. I would trust the floor, even though Richardson's not running enough. Pierce or Kirk? I'm going with Kirk. I think they get him unlocked. Buffalo slot corners out. All right. Jonathan, Javante Williams or Chuba? Javante had 5 catches last week, and I do think that he could see a lot more work in the passing game this week. I'm going to go that way. All right, next one. Justice Hill or Carson Steele. Wow. I think Justice Hill gets you 3 or 4 catches in this one. So I'm going to go with Justice Hill. Carson Steele, he'll have to fall in the end zone, probably beat him. Yeah, Vele is inactive today, healthy scratch, and they signed little Jordan Humphrey to a contract. They played the same position. They both played slot. So I had Vele on some rosters. Now I'm very nervous about him. So right now I'm very pessimistic because of the game day scratch. Really non-test. I don't know what non-test is. I'm sorry. Oh, Neighbors. I will go with Neighbors here. Even though I don't think he gets the volume of last week, I do think that he gets it done here. I will go with Neighbors, even over Evans. I'll go with him. I think here. Hard to sit Mike Evans though. Like I said, seriously, Mike Evans could get 2 touchdowns and 100 yards, and I wouldn't blink. So sit Evans at your own peril is what I'll say. Sit Evans at your own peril. I mean, you know what? I'm going with Evans. I'm not going with Neighbors. The Denzel Ward, the pass rush. I'm going with Evans. Akers, Javante, or Steele. PPR. Because of the PPR, I'm going to get Javante. Javante, again, 5 catches last week. He probably sees a bit of action there. Morning you as well. JSN, Nico or Higgins. Nico's unbenchable. He can go. I mean, yeah, you can't bench Nico. I don't think ever, unless you have him up against like Tyreek with a good quarterback. Yeah, I don't think you could bench him. Somebody else asked that. It's a great question. I think Rashee Rice has a safer floor. He's almost guaranteed to get 6 to 8 targets. They both have super ceiling. They both could go off because I'm going to take the floor play with the ceiling in Rashee Rice. I love them both. Owen Daniels, DeMarcus, Jalen Waddle, Ford, or Brian Thomas. Again, I just think they're going to scheme up Waddle. They're going to have to get him the ball in space. Smitty, I get it. It makes sense. I have London ranked way higher than Cooper, and it's just been because Cooper hasn't got fired, but they got their left tackle back. Cooper has had history last year where he's done really well. I don't fault you at all for starting Cooper over him. I have London ranked higher. for other reasons, but Cooper is always a player who could go off. Don't go against your gut. Forward Akers, London. I'm going London in this one, swinging nines. We saw the 7 targets last week. I just think you play your star player here. You don't overthink it. Maybe the other guys outscore him. Maybe it happens. But I think if London has the game, you'll kick yourself. Kyle, Rashad White or Chuba Hubbard? I'm going to go with Rashad White here. More likelihood of White being involved as a receiver. Gesicki, Stranger versus Bills. You mean Brenton Strange, probably. Parkinson. I'm going to go with Gesicki here. They should light the scoreboard up. Strange had the 6 catches last week. Luke Farrell had 2. But in week 1, Evan Ingram had like 1 catch. So I don't know that we can count on anything week to week out of the offense, especially Brenton Strange. Parkinson, without the receivers now, he's just a guy in the offense as opposed to being a good cog. I'm going to go with Gesicki there. Tough call. Trust your gut. White has a higher floor. Dobbins, if you can't bench him because of the 9.9 yards per carry and running hot, play him. But White has a better floor. Schultz or Jonnu. Because of Skylar Thompson, I imagine he gets the ball out short. So I think Smith could get more targets than Schultz. And then Chargers, D. Big Ham. I'm going with JSN over Zamir. I like Zamir's matchup. I think it's fantastic. JSN looks really good. I think I answered that one for no, I didn't. That's a good question, Tyler. I'm gonna go with Carr. They have similar floor. I think Carr might have a little more sitting. The matchup is great, both of them, but I think Tampa might run the ball more. I'm gonna go JSN. He has a higher floor than Shaheed. They both have ceiling. Tolbert or Jordan. I'm gonna go with Tolbert. Again, I'm finding it real hard to trust the Rams with no offensive line help in the middle and playing the 49ers and without Cupper and Nakua to shelter the other receivers. I think I answered that already. I answered that one already. If you guys are still out there, please stop spamming the question. Ask them once. I'll get to you. It's just going to take a little time. There's like literally 540 people in the room right now, so there's a lot of questions. Martin, Strange, Ertz, or Fant, or Smith. Fant's less than 100%. He hasn't seen anything. I'm going to give Ertz the edge. He's been a big part of the offense, and they're probably going to trail. Lindorphins, happy Sunday. Let's see, Akers or Najee. Yeah, I'm going to give Najee the edge here. Akers, Minnesota's been a good run defense. I don't believe it or not. Jordan Mason got 100, but he needed 20 carries to get there in his 49ers. So I'm going to give Najee the edge. DeMarcus or Worthy. Without the other receiver, I think DeMarcus Robinson takes a hit. I'm going to go with Worthy. He has some upside. I'm going to go with Higgins here, Tajay. It's such an easy matchup for him. This one, Pittman has a higher floor, 8 and 9 targets. He hasn't done anything with them, but he has a higher floor. Higgins is more boom bust because he could have the game. Higgins is what Pittman is way safer though. Oh man, that's a real good one. You know what? Indy can't rush. They can't cover. Play 80% zone. I'm going with DJ Moore in this one. Richard Harris or Singletary? I'm going with Singletary. I think he gets a couple more targets than Harris this one. He gets him over the top. Carr or Mahomes? We asked that on the XM show this morning. I shouldn't say Mahomes, but I am. Because Derek Carr still could turn into Derek Carr today. And if he does that, then we're like, what the heck? It may not happen. He may blow up again. Mahomes hasn't been great for fantasy. But I'm playing Mahomes here. Mayfield or Daniels? Daniels is a higher floor. He's safer. So I would probably go with the safe play there. Javonte caught like 5 passes, probably more the same. I'm going to go with Javonte. Higgins over Akers. Akers is going to get some volume, but that may not turn into as much as we think. James, morning. That's a tough one, too. Shaheed's rolling. Higgins is back from an injury. I could see starting Shaheed there. If you're worried about Higgins like coming back from a layoff, do it. Otherwise, it couldn't be a better matchup for Higgins. I think Higgins is a better play. But if you're nervous at all about him coming back from injury, then play Shaheed and call it a day. Luis, you got to wait till this week first because they're going to get him involved. And Buffalo's down their slot corner. If he doesn't do it this week, then yeah, you could dump him. But not now. Not now. Dobbins or I'm gonna go with Monty. I have Monty as top 12 back. Dobbins has his first tough matchup of the year, and it's a tough one. And their quarterback limit, they're probably gonna stack the box. Jacobs or Cook. Jacobs is probably gonna toy with 30 carries, 25 carries again. Cook had the big game last week. Jacksonville's a good defense. I think Jacksonville could slow Cook down quite a bit. I'm gonna give Jacobs the edge here. Chris Deontay Johnson finally has a professional quarterback throwing the ball. It might not be great, but a lot of possession stuff. I think Deontay Johnson is a safer PPR play. I'm going to give Richardson the edge here. I don't know how much Purdy has to throw today. I think they might run the ball San Francisco and just kind of call it and say just grind down the Rams and be done with it. Dell or McBride. McBride is a way higher floor, so I would trust him. If you need to shoot for the moon, Dell has a great matchup for that, but he hasn't in this start of the season shown that's been here. But if you got to swing for the fence, it's Dell. Otherwise, just call it a day, and McBride's going to get you that, probably double-digit PPR point game. Jacobs or Henry. Oh man, I do like Henry's matchup. I'm gonna go King Henry here because Dallas they shifted their defense, Mike Zimmer, but they haven't stopped the run at all, and I got to think they're able to control the game here. Lamar, I got to go with Lamar. Lamar against Dallas, especially the pass rush comes, he's going to take off and run. I got to go with Lamar. I like what Carr is doing. I can't sit Lamar over him. P. Ryan or Madison. Madison soiled the bet. He scored a touchdown last week, but P. Ryan's going to catch probably 3 passes, 4 passes. I think that's enough to put him over Madison. It's close. It's very close, though, Cohen. I'm going to go Caleb Williams here because no pass rush from the Colts. DeForest Buckner's out. Juju Brent's their corner's out. I think they get Williams some confidence this week. Lawrence has been awful. Zach Moss, Mike Evans. I'm going with Mike Evans here. I'm going with the superstar player. Don't worry about Patrick Surtain enough. He's Mike Evans. If you have a gut feel on Dobbins, I get it. 9.9 yards per carry, but he has a real bad matchup. Do I like J-Mo or Tyreek? Oh man, I have to think with a long week. Mike McDaniels has all these crazy plays, get the ball in Tyreek's hands. I can't sit Tyreek. And I know J-Mo's been phenomenal. I have J-Mo's my wide receiver 17. Tyreek is my wide receiver 8. You'll kick yourself if Tyreek does 2 crazy runs of like 80 yards and just does something stupid. I can't sit him. I love it. But if your gut says Jameson, do it. John or Gesicki. It's close. I'm going to go Gesicki here. I think the whole Bengals offense gets unlocked here, and they score a lot of points. Starting lineup. I'm not sure which more you mean, but otherwise it looks good. Do I like James? Yeah, good. I answered that for somebody else, maybe. So I answered for you, actually. Kittle's out. Need to pick up a tight end. We're dropping Lawrence for a 1-week flyer. If you need points, I mean, if you lose your game because you didn't score some points, that's going to be a problem. So Trevor Lawrence hasn't done anything. You probably can get him right back on the waiver wire. So Jeff, appreciate you. Cole, I'm going to go JSN here. Robinson is a phenomenal matchup, but they're probably going to fall way behind. I'm going with Mooney here because Ladd's quarterback is hurt. Murray and Minshew or Murray and Stafford. I'm going to go Murray and Minshew. Stafford's going to be in trouble, I would think, with Dallas. I mean, with the San Francisco's pass rush. Sorry. Irving. I think Hubbard has the best floor. I'm going to go Hubbard. Moore and Jordan need one flex. Jerome Ford. I'm J-Mo. J-Mo Evans like a 17 receiver. He should be in great. He's getting a ton of targets. Akers or Higgins. I'm going with Higgins here. I don't trust Akers not to become Akers. Akers or Deontay. Deontay, I believe, is going to get 5-6 catches. Andy Dalton's a quarterback. Larry, good morning. Jefferson, Harrison, Neighbors, Godwin, J-Mo. Oh my gosh, that's a rough one. I'm sitting Neighbors. Cleveland matchup scares me. I'm going with Naylor here. Again, without Kupp and Nakua, I really don't trust the Rams offense. I'm going with Higgins here. Higgins has a super easy matchup. Mooney over Ladd. That's a great question, Big Ham. They're all pretty equal plays. I think the stablest floor is Khalil Shakir. I think Brian Thomas is a little more low floor, has a little higher of a ceiling. So if you need to shoot for that, that's fine. Otherwise, Shakir is safe. Neighbors, Dobbins, Connor, Metcalf. Wow, that's a good problem to have too. Connor has the highest floor despite a horrific matchup. And I think that Jamison Williams is the highest ceiling. So if you want to swing for fence, it's going to be JMO. Neighbors that don't like the matchup. Metcalf's right in the mix. You have a great team that have that issue. Akers, Zamir, Dell, Shakir. Zamir, great matchup, high floor this week. He normally doesn't. They're terrible running, but Zamir has the best floor. Dell has the highest ceiling, so it depends on what you need. Going with Tyreek. I'm going with Jacobs. I think Cook has tougher matchup this week. Would I play Daniel Jones or Mark Andrews? Wow. Daniel Jones against Cleveland. It could get ugly, but he's a quarterback. Always play a quarterback because Andrews has not had a big game yet. Mike, yes, I'm answering questions. I've been answering them for an hour and a half. But you're asking your question a bunch of times, so I see what the issue is. Cole, JSN. I just think he's going to have a higher floor ceiling combo. Robinson has a good floor. London, Malik Neighbors. London 1, Malik Neighbors 2, Robinson 3. Adrian, JMO, Zay Flowers. Oh, man. I got DJ Moore ahead of Jamison Williams. Matchup's going to be great, so I'm going to go with DJ Moore. Hill, Evans, JMO, pick 2. I'm going Hill. If you want the high floor, you go with Evans. If you got to swing for the fence for massive upside, then you bench Evans and you play JMO. Robinson, Shaheed, or London. London is probably the best floor play of this group. Shaheed is your boom bust play if you want to swing for the fence. Larry. I am going with Najee here. I think he has the safest floor. McLaughlin was really limited in snaps this week. Mayfield or Goff. Goff is more likely in a shootout. Pittman 8 and 9 targets. So I think Pittman hasn't been good, but he has a better floor because Higgins is coming back. But Higgins has a beautiful matchup. So it's a risk because we don't know his true health status. But so if you want safe Pittman, but Higgins would have real upside. Should you trade Irving for Eckler? I would because I don't think unless Rachaad White gets hurt and you can't predict injuries. I probably like the Seattle defense here. Jennings. I'm going to go with Jennings here. Coleman or Cooper. Steve, I'm going to go with Cooper. Cooper's at 8 and 9 targets. He should get a fixed left tackles back. Ford or Akers. Akers is a higher floor, I think, in this one. I'm going to go with Metcalf here. Since Higgins is coming back from injury, I'm going to give him a game. Jay, I'm going with Murray. The running has been like 58, 59 yards a game. I'm going with Ertz. He's had a high floor, and they're probably trailing a lot in this game. Davis or Akers. Akers is a safer floor. If you want to go boom bust, Davis has been getting opportunities, but safer is there. I'm going with Naylor over Whittington. I'm going with DK over Charbonnet. Charbonnet gets volume. I get it, but I can't really sit DK. And Jalen Ramsey might see him some. That's not scaring me off. Wow. Neighbors is a tough matchup. The pass rush to be the bigger problem than the coverage, and that's Daniel Jones' issue. I'm going to go JSN because he's the safest of those three, I believe, at this point. Neighbors is close. Neighbors is real close. Burrow could not have a better matchup. I think they get their offense rolling this week. Richardson has the rushing floor, which you love. I think Burrow gets on track. I'm going to give Burrow I think I have Richardson ahead of Burrow in the rankings, but I would probably play Burrow. No, I have Burrow one spot ahead. I can see that here. I do. I'm going to go Burrow. Pittman over Kirk. He's safer. But Kirk does, because the slot corner's out his real upside. Pittman is safer, though. Thank you, Coy. And go at Najee. Quentin Johnson has a limited quarterback and a tough matchup. Brent, quarterback. Love in one league and Tua in the other. All right. Oh, that's rough. Sorry, man. Would I start Swift today? Yeah, they've been a bet. And then they're right. The Bears are getting no help, but DeForest Buckner's out. And if you're ever going to start Swift, it's going to be today. If you can't play him today, you got to cut him because he won't be usable. This is like maybe the only week you can start Swift with some level of confidence. Dalton, Pittman, JMO, Waddle, Jennings. I am going with JMO for sure. And then your floor play is Pittman. Your boom bust is Waddle because they get the ball in his hands in space, which I think they're going to try to do. You have that going for him. I would, man, we don't know how long Tua's out for. And Cooper's had off to a rough start, but he's had great history last year with his quarterback. I would be inclined to grab Cooper in case Tua's out a long time. Pittman safer. Kirk does the slot corner is out for Buffalo, so he's your boom bust play. But Pittman is a high floor. I'd look at him. Kirk's been awful so far. It's not his fault. Richardson or Daniels? Oh man, I'm giving Richardson the edge here. They both should be able to run. I'm going with Waddler. Quentin Johnson's limited quarterback. Yeah, I think I answered that one. So we should be good for somebody else. I would start Swift again. You got Robinson or Odunze to put in. I would play Odunze over Swift. They can't cover. Indy can't cover either. Adam, Evans, Bowers, McBride, pick 2. Oh, man. Look, I love Bowers, and he's been phenomenal. I'm going McBride and Evans here. McBride's getting high target volume. There should be a shootout. Evans, I just fundamentally can't sit Mike Evans, and I know he's going to see a lot of the Denver corner Surtain, but I'm going to play those two. But if your gut says Bowers, I get it. I can't advise to sit Mike Evans. Rashad White, Najee Ford, London, Neighbors, J-Mo, Brian Thomas. You need a running back and a flex. I'm going to give Rashad White the edge here. He should get back in the receiving column here. At receiver, for floor, I'm going to go London. If you want to go boom bust, Jamison Williams could have a big game. Dustin, I'm going with Dell. I believe the matchup is phenomenal for him here, so we're going to look to him this week. I got about 8 minutes, so I got to fire through these. Do I get you answer and get you moving? Pittman for floor, Thomas for boom bust. Kincaid or Cooper? Same deal. Kincaid has a good floor, but Cooper finally has a good matchup. He should have potential for real ceiling. So if you want to go for upside there, Ridley or T. Higgins. Ridley's been performing. So until Higgins gets a game under his belt, we'll go Ridley. Akers or Thomas. I think Akers actually has a more stable floor, but Thomas has more upside. So base it on that. Reynolds, Pierce, Reed, or Naylor. I'm giving Reed the edge because he ran for 33 yards or 37 last week, so I think they're going to get him involved that way. And then, your other one, you have 2. I'm going to go with Jalen Naylor as the second one. I think the Bears might slow him down in the big play. Ridley, JSN, Singletary, half PPR pick 2. I'm going with Ridley and JSN for volume. I got a super chat question here. They got to go back to roll dab. Let's see here. All right, let's see what we got. Blue Crew. Tank Dell instead of Waddle Reed. I think Waddle actually has a higher floor because they're going to scheme the ball up in his hands. I think Dell has real upside here. So this is a perfect matchup, but if they haven't optimized him yet. So if you want to swing for the fence, I think you go with Tank Dell, but I do think Waddle gets schemed up touches to get him into space quickly. You do have Tyreek Hill in your lineup, so that makes sense to go with the boom bust of Dell. So given that does make complete sense. I don't think I'd want to go in with 2 Dolphins here. So in that case, Tank Dell should have a good game and you should be in good shape. Eric, you need a home run play. You need to Drake London, Malik Neighbors, JMO, and Marvin Harrison to be your swing for defense plays. Both should be in the same game shootout, and that means they both could eat. That's why I would like the Malik Neighbors tougher matchup and Drake London. Again, I don't know the ceiling is. Kansas City's there. All right, get back here and see where roll dab Ridley or London. I'm going to go with London. I think his ceiling's a little higher. Ridley, JSN, Singletary. We are going with JSN and Ridley. Evans 1, Cooper 2, but Cooper has real upside here. Boom bust. Evans is safer. Jennings a 3. Need to start 1 and a flex. White, Ford, London, Neighbors, JMO, Brian Thomas. 1 running back and a flex. White's, you asked one already. I saw one. It's going to be White's your running back. London's your floor, and JMO's your boom bust. Akers is a higher floor. I trust him. Naylor, I think Naylor has a higher floor than Reynolds. I know Reynolds getting targets though, so there's that. Anna, we are going Zamir White in a great matchup. Jiggles, we are going Pickens in this one. A couple penalties took away plays from him last week. Thank you, Big Ham, hitting the like button. Akers, Higgins, or Juwan Jennings. Akers is a pretty decent floor here, so I'm going to go with him. And Higgins, I trust him against an easy matchup. Jennings might be asked to block more than we like. Woods girl, Amari Cooper. I'm going to go with Cooper's coming back this week, I expect. The Giants are an easy matchup. Left tackle's back. Ty J. Akers, Higgins, or I think we answered that for you already. JSN has a higher floor. I'm going to go with JSN for that. Chase Brown gets some run. Hard to say. As of right now, I can't predict it. So that makes it real difficult. I think I got another couple more. Fields or Minshew. For the rushing ability, and it hasn't been great, I'm going to go with Fields. Do you trust JT or start Jordan Mason? Oh man, that's very, very even. Very even. Jordan Mason should have a super high floor and be great for you here. JT has a little tougher of a matchup, but he's still obviously a better running back. It's a coin flip. I think Mason has a higher floor. That's why I would start him. All right, let's see here. And see where we're at here. All right, Justin, we are going Dell and Shaheed. Brian Thomas for floor, Christian Kirk for upside because the slot corner is out for Buffalo. Answered that for you already. I am going Spears is the higher floor play. Tolbert is boom bust. Zamir White. I think I answered this one already. And we answered that one for you already. Akers has a decent floor, but I'm going to go Tank Dell in a great matchup. I am going with Pickens this week. He had some plays called back on penalty last week. I'm going with Thielen for a floor. I'm going with Dell over Akers, a fantastic matchup. Michael, I'm also going with Dell for the great matchup. And Evans for floor, JMO for boom bust. And I'm going Ferguson in that one. I think we're caught up. Everybody have a great day and good luck.